the poor neighborhoods can only make any human being angry.
Social justice is an ambition. It cannot be achieved under such a system.
No matter how much help, there's always going to be more need that's going to be required.
Inequality in Kenya is a ticking time bomb, one placed under the country by colonialism and which post-independence puppets have failed to defuse. The most glaring manifestation of the problem is Nairobi. It is wealthier than 29 other Kenyan counties combined and contributes 27% of Kenya's $107 billion GDP. Yet poverty is the norm, many would argue by design.
We can say that, poverty is the goose that lays silver eggs, yeah? And there are people, who have no business doing away with, of course, poverty.
60% of Nairobi's 5 million residents live in Nairobi's 200 slums, which occupy only 6% of the city's land area. Nairobi also has two of the three biggest slums in Africa in the form of Mathare and Kibera. Kibera, the biggest in Africa and the setting of our story, is home to approximately 250,000 people across an area of just 2.5 square kilometers. It suffers from a lack of sanitation infrastructure, substandard housing, overcrowding, and insufficient public health services. Life expectancy is just 30 years. A look at investment into Nairobi's education system reveals more. Out of 386 secondary schools, only 103 are public schools. The teacher-to-student ratio in public schools is 29, compared with 14 for private schools, meaning less teacher-to-student engagement. Public schools are also more crowded overall, with an average population of 1,155 students in public schools versus 225 in private ones. The theme recurs in healthcare, with private options dwarfing public healthcare. Nairobi has 771 level 2 hospitals, only 87 of them public. Of its 240 level 3 hospitals, only 44 are public, and only 8 level 4 hospitals out of a total of 97 are public. So what's behind this disparity?
Before the white colonizers came, we did not have a crisis that we see today of, slums. So then we investigate how then these slums start emerging, yeah? Look at Kibera. If you look at Kibera, the slum in Kibera, you realize it has a colonial history. Yeah, I think around 1918, when Sudanese soldiers who were working for the King's African Rifle were given, this place to call home, the Nubians. And now, so you see the relation with colonialism. And then what happens after British have left? They abandoned them.
At the core of the issue is land. Nairobi was built on racial and class segregation fueled by land ownership inequality. During colonialism, the British settlers developed a three-tier hierarchy, with Europeans at the top, Asians in the middle, and Africans at the bottom, represented in settlement patterns. The British kicked the natives off their land and settled in the lush, hilly north and northwest part of Nairobi, leaving the northeast to the Asians due to proximity to the railway and commercial areas. Africans were left with unattractive areas in the east. The Nubians, serving under the British colonial government, were given Kibera.
Our history evolved because our forefathers were brought to come and assist the British during the British Empire and its expedition around the world. So Kibera itself was founded, I think, as a reserve for soldiers who fought during the First World War and the Second World War. And it was approximately around 4,375 acres. And the name Kibera derived from what we call in our ethnic language, Kibera means forest.
After 1969, that is when things started changing here because of politics. People started to come in, bringing voters from other areas, urban, and others came in here just because of looking for greener pasture, for work. There were no works, and the rural coming here. That is how things started changing.
Historically, there are now specific areas for the African working class. Because if you walk to Parklands, you realize now it's an Indian neighborhood. You go to another place, you go to Karen, you realize it was a white people. Now today we also have some petty bourgeois who have now living there in those places. Yeah.
With a significant number of residents living under the poverty line today, slums have mushroomed close to wealthier suburbs and industrial areas as workers cut transport costs by choosing to walk at times 10 to 15 kilometers to work.
Baada ya kuhitimu kutoka kwa hiyo, ndio sasa ngakuja mjini kutafuta kazi. Nilikuwa nakaa upande wa Ngara, lakini wakati nipata kazi PM Security hapa karibu na showground, sasa ngaona wataka nihamia hapa. Patara ya kutumia nauli nyingi kwenda town na kufuka na kurudi.
What we need to ask these rich people, how did they get their wealth? Because they get their wealth at the back of Kibera residents. Without the work, there is no money. So these people live here. They go to a construction site. Once they build the house, that is the last time they are there. The next time they will be in that house is cleaning it. So they construct the world, but are alienated from the whole world.
Life is precarious in Nairobi's informal settlements. A study investigating the long-term consequences of living in slums on health found that pneumonia, diarrhea, stillbirths, and anemia are the biggest causes of premature deaths for children under 5. Environmental factors are to blame. Pneumonia is caused by poor air quality in the packed settlements, often located close to industry. An absence of proper waste disposal services and sewage treatment contributes to diarrhea. Meanwhile, poverty and insufficient health services in the neighborhoods drive malnutrition and anemia.
The feeling of walking around the ghetto settlements, the poor neighborhoods, can only make any human being angry, because this is not how human beings should live. In fact, in the Communist Party of Kenya, we wonder why the politicians come to this place and it's like they feel nothing about it. To them, everything is normal. But what we have seen is a clear testimony of people living in a war zone. There is no running water. There is no, toilet facilities or sanitation. There is no surety even of the next meal.
For adults, AIDS and tuberculosis are the biggest premature killers at 49%. The HIV and AIDS crisis stems from poverty, stress, and the resultant choices, including prostitution.
Mateenager wanaingia vitu zenye hazifai kwa early age yao, unaona. Sasa inakuwa challenge hata kwa maparo kuriza watu hii hapa.
Unaweza je sema serikali imeparticipate vipi towards addressing hizi issues, basic necessities za wanawake wa Kibera?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. Yeah. So maybe the only thing that maybe wanna provide your medical camp, but once in a blue moon.
Domestic violence and crime in general are prevalent in the settlements, contrasting sharply with wealthier neighborhoods.
Hapa sida security wise ndio sio sawa sana kwa saa hii. Huko nyuma ilikuwa sida hata ukuchi saa 8, saa 7 anytime. Lakini saa hii security, saa hii kwenda hivi saa 6 kwenda mbele, lazima vijana watakukapa hapa njiani.
The issue is poverty.
Kenya, hakuna kazi saa hii. Vijana wengi wamemaliza wako huko nje. Wanataka wawe na smartphone kama wewe. Wanataka wakule, wanataka wafae mzuri. Hiyo vitu yote itatoka wapi?
You realize even with the crime that we see here, even with the crime that we continue to see here, the youths, it's either you steal and get something to eat or wait to die of starvation. Yeah, so it's a very, it's a very thin line. Yeah, you go now to the more affluent neighborhoods, yeah, and you realize the problems of the youths there are not the same problems the youths are facing here. So maybe a woman here is stressed because, the children are going to sleep hungry. Maybe, the kid is going to be shot.
A glimpse into what the wealthy elite on the other side of the fence enjoy is revealing. Take access to water. A 2013 study found that higher income class neighborhoods enjoy access to piped water 85 to 95% of the time, compared with 12% in the slums. Residents of poorer neighborhoods are found to consume 200 to 300 liters of water a day, while a slum inhabitant will only use 15 liters a day. In a bitter twist of irony, slum dwellers pay between 10 and 25 times more for a unit of water due to the unreliability and inaccessibility of services.
Kama hapa Kibera kuna challenge ya vitu mingi. Unaona, maji yenye tunatumia uwezi sema ni kama ya watu wa Lang'ata. Unaona, yao at least ishatibiwa. Sasa unajua ghetto tu venye kuko.
The inequality spreads even to law enforcement, with a clear bias in treatment based on the class background of the residents.
Sasa tuseme kama nimeenda Lang'ata, alafu nipatane na sanse huko hivyo, si ndio? Ataniangalia, alafu atanijudge. Umeona? Atajua tu mimi ni mtu wapi wa mtaa. Umeona? So lazima atanianda design fulani juu like sitaweza kujitetea, unaget? Juu sina anything ya kujitetea, unaget?
Non-governmental aid organizations have been providing some aid to the slums, but NGOs have also provided an opportunity for the government to get away with not providing the settlements with essential services. Worse, the help such organizations provide fails to address the systemic issues that maintain the slum status quo.
We see that the current administration and the previous ones have taken Kibera people for a ride. And in fact, it is time for Kibera people. Now we have many NGOs here. American NGOs are here, USAID NGOs. How is it that families are spending billions in Kibera and the Kibera residents' life are not changing? But they drive in Kibera in big cars, live in big cars, pay themselves allowances, and they say they are helping Kibera.
First understand where did these NGOs emerge from. And if you look at NGOs, they emerged from the womb of the neoliberal insurgency in the 80s. And one thing they've done successfully, at least within our communities here, is to depoliticize our masses. Yeah. So we have people, of course, who are making a lot of money from NGOs and the struggles of our people. But we also have, the objectives of the NGO, in general, which is to depoliticize our masses. I will use one example. Yeah, you look at the ghetto here, and you realize there's a problem, the land problem. But what the NGOs will do, instead of coming to address the land problem, they will come to advise people how to plant vegetables in sacks. So what they do is to remove our people from their reality, which is a land question, because if you look at the country is still occupied by white people.
The government and NGOs benefit from the status quo. If the entire existence is tied to helping poor Africans in informal settlements, what happens when there no longer are poor Africans in informal settlements?
If they fight poverty and eliminate poverty, then it means their careers are in crisis. Because now, after, the only reason that people subject themselves or, even find themselves being humiliated by this politician is their poverty. So if at all the government is able now to deal with poverty, it means we have few people to deceive. And that, of course, is not for their interests.
We spoke to Dave Boniface from New Community Kibera, who shared the challenges faced in the settlement and his organization's work there.
I suppose the analogy used of a bandaid is probably quite a reasonable one to do so. But I think the challenges on Kibera is so huge that the more people involved has got to be the better, really. I think, as I said, our aim is with all the NGOs or the CBOs that we support and operate on the slum is always about helping people to do things for themselves. So we haven't come in to take over. The need is so huge that I think that no matter how much help, there's always going to be more need that's going to be required. So we certainly don't see ourselves as sort of, I suppose, white saviours.
Someday, he hopes, his work will result in self-sufficiency in the community he serves.
It would be for the people to be able to run these community-based organisations for themselves and without support from outside. That would be a certain indicator of success.
With the government washing its hands of its responsibility to its citizens and NGOs and churches filling the vacuum, what does the community want and what options do community organizations have?
Or create more opportunities kwa ma youth man, kukuwe na ma recycling most, umeona, kukuwe na ma department kubwa spaces zitafutwe, ma youth man waemployiwe, unaona. So from there security inaweza patikana juu maboys watakuwa wameenda hustle, unaona.
Kenye wanaweza tu fanya, at least maybe wakipewa ma young youth job, at least inaweza punguka, of which si ati itapunguka. Cause unaona kila wakati watu uzaliwa na venye tunalea watoto pia ni tofauti. So you never know. But most of kids kenye mimi hujua, si ati mtu anaingia kwa wizi juu anataka. Ni ile poverty ndio inafanya.
We have a lot of things we can do to at least uplift the conditions of our people, at least for now, because we also don't look at parliamentarism as the alpha and omega. Yeah, we also realize the limitations of parliament, but we also have things that can, you can use the office of elected representatives to solve some questions for the people, right? Example, the question of water. Yeah, the question of water. These people, instead of now bringing piped water for our people, what they do is bring us more tanks, more water tanks. So what they do, they never try to solve the solutions from the root. Yeah.
But beside the state, the church, and NGOs, there are also social justice centers. These seek to address the root causes of the problem in the settlements, bolstered by the grassroots nature of their organization.
One impressive thing or one beautiful thing you'll realize about the type of movement you're talking about, the social justice movement, is that it's organic, yeah, from the people, yeah. So these are people organizing themselves, so different from the model of, NGOs that we've been seeing, trying to do whatever they do, good Samaritan work in our community. So we've now even moved from, having some messiahs, independent human rights organizers, to now having more people who are able to engage with the community. And any problem the communities have, we just visited a baraza and we saw people, trying to reason together and come up with their own solutions to their own problems. So this is what these social justice centers do. Social justice is an ambition. It cannot be achieved under such a system because the system will continue perpetuating, poverty and hopelessness. Yeah. So what we need is to now start thinking about an alternative. Here we say our only alternative is socialism. Therefore, these organizations then work with political organizations, form united front, now to allow these political organizations to have grassroots link with the communities. And how do you do that? Through these movements that we have.
Oppression always breeds resistance. Despite the lack of government support and predatory organizations leeching off their misery, the people of Kibera continue to exemplify the unyielding African spirit. Not content with the status quo, Kibera seeks to address its problems, drawing on the strength of community, grassroots organization, and the spirit of Ubuntu, or I am because you are. Ultimately, as history shows, the liberation of Africa is down to Africans.